What's up guys, this is my Samsung Galaxy Note 3 and this is my Xiaomi Mi 3 and both of them are from 2013. So let's compare them and find out which one is better. So first of all, let's talk about the Samsung. This thing first of all comes with the huge AMOLED display. It's a Super AMOLED display and it's 5.7 inch, and this thing has some pretty great color output and a pretty good contrast. I love this display. And when I talk about the Xiaomi Mi 3, this thing, what happened to it? Yeah, there we go. This thing comes with a 5-inch LCD panel, and this is also pretty nice and premium. But comparing both of these, the Samsung one is a tad bit better. And second of all, let's come to its build. Now both the phones are built pretty solid and both of them feels pretty sturdy in hand. But one key factor of the Xiaomi is this is totally sealed shut phone, and this was supposed to be the one of the first ever Android phone to have a sealed shut back, whereas this thing has a removable back. And yeah, you could remove its battery. Wait, there you go. You could remove its battery, and yeah, it was a pretty interesting thing back then, but nowadays not happening anymore because most of the companies want you to like, if you have damaged your phone, then they want you to replace it, and in order to do that they have to glue shut the back, by which you can't even remove the battery from the phone and you have to replace the whole thing. However, the next thing comes in the list is the camera. So both this phone have 13 megapixel camera sensor on the back and 2 megapixel in the front. Now the Samsung one could take 4K 30 fps video. Hi there, welcome to a video from the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, and this thing can shoot 4K 30 fps, and I don't know how much of a good quality that you guys are getting because it's around 11 years old with its 13 megapixel camera from 2013, and it's a pretty interesting fact. And yeah, the quality is not that great in 2024 standard, but it is able to do it. However, the 2 megapixel front camera is not that good in terms of selfie or video, and the back camera is somewhat decent in taking good photos. And this Xiaomi is also almost the same as this Samsung. Now the Xiaomi has a 13 megapixel back camera, and this thing could shoot 1080p 30 fps full HD video. Hi, this is shot on a Xiaomi Mi 3, and there you go guys, the camera quality of the Xiaomi Mi 3, especially the rear camera. That's all. Peace. And this thing could also take some pretty good photos in proper lighting, and the night photos on this are not that good. However, both the phones have the same issue with the night photos, and if you give them a proper lighting, they could definitely take some pretty good photos which looks vintage. And yeah, both of them give some pretty vintage feel. Now let me come to both of these performance. Now the Samsung does have a lot of variants other than this one. This thing only comes in one variant. This thing comes in a few variants which includes UK, US, Korea, maybe Australia and Canada, and there are also a few other variants. Now my one is a Korean variant which is SM-N900, and this thing comes in a Exynos 5420 processor, and this processor was supposed to pair with the Snapdragon 800 chip. Yeah, this thing also comes in a Snapdragon 800 chips in the other countries' variants, which excludes the Korean variant because the Korean variant only has the Exynos chip. And yeah, other than the Exynos chip, this thing also comes in 3 gigs of RAM and a few different ROM variants, which include 16 gigs of ROM, 32 gigs of ROM and 64 gigs of ROM. Now my one hopefully has 32 gigs of ROM. So this thing comes with Exynos processor, Exynos 5420, 3 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of ROM, which makes it somewhat decent device than this, because this thing could run some pretty good games including PUBG, Free Fire and maybe Call of Duty. I didn't even run Call of Duty on this because I've only ran PUBG, Free Fire and maybe Clash of Clans. However, all the games on this, whichever I've run, does give a bit of decent performance on this, and this thing does have a lot of heating issues, so I can't like continue playing the games for longer periods. On the other hand, this thing comes in 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of ROM. No other variants of this does exist, no other. And yeah, this thing comes in a Snapdragon 800 chipset, which does make it better than this one, because this thing overheats and this thing does not, due to the Snapdragon 800 chipset. And yeah, you could play modern days games which include PUBG and Free Fire on this. Maybe Call of Duty, I'm not sure though, because Call of Duty is a pretty good, but this thing has some serious net issue. Yeah, the network issue on this is pretty bad, and the ping is almost high all the time when you are playing a game. I'm going to show you. However, you could also run Clash of Clans on this and older games, because this thing also runs Android 6, whereas this one runs Android 5.1 maybe. And yeah, the Android difference is huge in both of them, and this generation gaps does lag the Samsung behind a lot. And one more cool thing about this phone, yeah, this phone, not this phone, this phone is that you could connect keyboard and mouse on this and use it as some kind of a PC. Yeah, it's not a PC though, but you could use it. Another cool factor of it is this S Pen, which this thing does not have, and it's a negative point for this, because the S Pen has a lot of crazy cool features in this. Now I have reviewed both the phones before, and you guys, whoever watches my channel from before, would probably know what I'm talking about. However, these two are two of the coolest phone I have in my collection, and if I come to both of their batteries, yeah, the batteries vary a lot, because this thing does not even last for a day. Even if you are keeping it on a standby mode on the table, this thing almost lasts maybe a little more than half a day, but you need to charge it 2 times a day. On the other hand, this thing has a pretty great battery in 12 years lifespan. Yeah, for a battery which is 12 years old, it's a pretty crazy thing to do. I mean, like, how the hell does it do it? This thing could last for almost 2 days in a standby mode, and if you are gaming on this thing could easily last for like 1.5 days, which makes this a pretty great phone. But this does take a lot of time while charging. On the other hand, this thing takes only like 1 hour to 1.5 hours to charge fully. This thing takes almost 4 hours. However, both the phones does not have any kind of cellular ability, because no SIM works on any of this phone, and for both of these it is a minus point. And yeah, without SIM they are practically not phone, they are only some kind of device on which you could run the net and play games. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. However, both of these comes with flash. This thing has a double flash and this thing has a single flash, but both of them are pretty bright and pretty nice. Now, the buttons of both of these phone feels pretty premium and pretty nice in 2025 standard, and I love both of them. And other than all this, both of them are a pretty good device. And yeah, I love them, and maybe for the rest of my life I would keep them with me. So that's all about both of these devices, and both of these are pretty great. However, both of these are pretty nice phones, and both of them are holding up pretty well, even though this thing is cracked. the AMOLED display still works even though it's a paper thin display. Whereas this one, this thing broke and stopped working and I had to replace it. So there you go guys, both the phones, and I don't know what kind of review I'm doing, but I do love both these phones. So that's all folks, that's me Rafat, and peace.